Aloha Algebra 1 students, today we're going to be talking about solving a system of equations. This is going to be a two-part lesson, Substitution 1 and Substitution 2, and that's going to happen today, February 2nd, and tomorrow, February 3rd. This is a blue foldable, so you're going to need your foldable or graphic organizer to take notes, a pencil, and a calculator if you use calculator. So pull out a highlighter and let's start talking about the rule of substitution. So in order to substitute, you must have an equation that has a variable by itself. And in the past, this is what, Project 5 Part 1 is due today, guys. Okay, back to this. Again, this is what our variables look like in the past when we're substituting. We always have to have a variable that is by itself. Just like this x is equal to 2 and the x is by itself. This is an example of a variable that is not by itself. This x is with 4, this y is with 8, and they're both on the same side of the equation. So this is not a variable by itself. Here we have x by itself. This is a variable that is by itself. Okay. So again, take your highlighter and let's highlight this rule here. And because we have an equation with a variable by itself, we can go ahead and get started with substitution. The first step in substitution is to substitute one equation into the other. Now, we're going to look at the variable that's by itself and what it's equal to. In this case, our x is equal to 2. And we're going to take what it's equal to, and we're going to plug it into the other equation. This is equal to x, and so we're going to take this 2 and we're going to plug it into the x. Right there. And let's rewrite the equation. We have 4. Again, we're going to take our 2, we're going to plug it into that x. And remember that when we substitute, we like to use parentheses when we're rewriting the equation. Minus 8y equals 4. We're going to simplify, and 4 times 2 is 8, minus 8y equals 4. At this point, you can solve as a two-step equation. Get rid of the constant, get rid of the coefficient, and solve the next variable to be by itself. So we're going to get rid of minus 8 on both sides, and this is the opposite operation. This is a positive 8, and so we need to get rid of it using the opposite operation, which is minus, or minus 8. We're going to end up with negative 8y equals negative 4. And we want y by itself, so I'm going to divide by that coefficient, negative 8. Divide by negative 8. And negative 4 divided by negative 8 is equal to 1/2. And negative 8 and negative 8 cancel out here on the left side. Y will be by itself, and this is our answer. X equals 2, y equals 1/2. Now, let me just take you over to step 3 where it says plug answer back into the original equation and solve for the other variable. Now, when we started, we had already solved for one variable, so we're okay. We don't have to do step 3. This next equation, or this next system, is going to go through all 3 steps. Step 1, 2, and then I'll show you how step 3 works. Okay, so step 1, substitute one equation in the other equation. Now again, this applies to our rule. We must have an equation that has a variable by itself. In this case, we have 2 equations with variables by itself. We have a y here and a y there. And so what it's saying is that this y is equal to negative 6x plus 5, which means that this y is also equal to negative 6x plus 5. Or in other words, negative 6x plus 5 is equal to 3x minus 4. So we're going to take the whole thing that it's equal to, and we're going to plug it right into that top y. Likewise, you could have totally taken negative 6x plus 5 and plugged it in the bottom y. Either way, they're both going to work. So after taking that 3x minus 4, plugging it into the top y, this is what we're going to get. 3x minus 4 equals negative 6x plus 5. Okay, so we have an x a constant, an x, and then a constant. So we know that we need to solve for x's in this particular equation. This is a multi-step equation, and so we will need to combine like terms. In the past, what I've told you is that I like variables on the left and I like numbers on the right, because for me, it's just easier to think that way. Just like we have a variable on the left and a number on the right. But truthfully, you can actually switch it to any side that you want. So going with that same thinking of variables on the left, I'm going to take this variable that's on the right and I'm going to push it to the left by doing the opposite operation. The opposite of negative 6x is positive 6x. But because I did this to one side, I have to do it to the other. Let's simplify. 3x plus 6x equals 9x minus 4 equals 6x minus 6x, that's 0, plus 5. So 0 plus 5 is just 5. Again, we're at the point where we can do a two-step equation. I'm going to get rid of the constant, so I'm going to move that 4 over by adding 4 to both sides. What I have left is 9x equals 9. I want x by itself, so I'm going to divide it both sides by 9. X equals positive 1. Now here, we've solved for one variable. And we know that when we're doing systems, we need two answers. We need an x answer and we need a y answer. So in order to get that y answer, we're going to take this x equals 1, and very similar to what we did here, we're going to plug it back into one of these equations. It doesn't matter which equation you use, it will all come out to be the same. So I'm going to use this equation, y equals 3x minus 4, mostly because to me it's an easier equation. It has smaller numbers, and we can see that the coefficient is positive as opposed to the equation up here. Our coefficient negative 6 is negative, and so this should make it easier. Okay, so we're going to substitute the 1 back into one of these original equations, and because this is equal to 1, this x here is also equal to 1. So let's write it out. Y equals 3 times 1. Again, x is equal to 1, so we're going to put a 1 here, minus 4. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4 is y equals negative 1. And I'm going to rewrite my equation and box the answer, or circle the answer, up to you. But this is important so that me, who is correcting your work, or someone else who is looking at your work as reference, knows that this is the answer. It's our boxed answer. So x equals positive 1, y equals negative 1. Okay, this is the next equation that's on your graphic organizer, and it's x equals 4y and x plus 2y equals 12. Again, our rule is that we need to have a equation with a variable by itself. And here we go. We have an x with our equation, and the x is by itself. So I can take what's here and plug it into the other equation. So instead of the x, I'm going to plug in 4y. What's left is 2y equals 12. I have 4y plus 2y. I'm going to combine them to make 6y. Divide by 6, divide by 6, y equals 2. Again, we only have one answer so far, y equals 2. But I know that if I was to plug it back into this equation, I could easily find out what x is. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. X equals 4 times y. Again, y is 2. So x equals 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So my answer is x equals 8, y equals 2. Again, x equals 8, y equals 2. Okay, let's do a couple more practice problems on the inside. Go ahead and open up your graphic organizer. to this equation here. Y equals 2x minus 10 and y equals negative 7x plus 17. Again, we have equations with variables that are by itself. And I'm going to take one of these equations, 2x minus 10, and I'm going to plug it into the y below. We know that y is equal to this here, so this y has to be equal to 2x minus 10 also. Let's rewrite it as 2x minus 10 equals negative 7x plus 17. And again, we can easily say that y equals y, so this top will equal this bottom, or this bottom will equal this top. And that's what we have here. Again, we're solving for x, and I like my variables to be on the left. So I'm going to get rid of negative 7x by adding 7x to both sides. And then I'm going to simplify. 2x plus 7x is 9x minus 10. 7x minus 7x is 0, or it cancels out, plus 17. Okay, let's get rid of the constant because we want x by itself. We're going to add 10 to both sides. And what we have left is 9x plus 27. I'm going to divide each side by 9. So x is equal to 3. Okay. Are we done? You should be saying, no, we're not done, Mrs. Ledger, because we only have x equals 3, and we need an x equals y equals. So again, we can use either one, either original system equation. So I'm going to use 2x minus 10, and I'm going to take my x, I'm going to plug it right into here. So I get 2 times 3 minus 10, and I'll get negative 4. So now my x is equal to 3, my y is equal to negative 4, and we're good. Okay, let's go to the next equation. Y equals negative 2x plus 8, and y equals negative 7x plus 8. Again, we are going to take that top equation and we're going to plug it into the other y. I want x's on one side, so I'm going to take this 7x and add it to the negative 2x. What's left here is positive 8, positive 8. 7x minus 2x is 5x. And this cancels out to 0. So 5x plus 8 plus 8. So we're going to take the constant and minus it from both sides. And we're going to get 5x equals 0. We want x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 5. And in your calculator, if you've tried x divided by 0 divided by 5, we know that we're always going to get the answer of 0. Because if I have nothing and I try to divide it into 5 pieces, how much does each person have? They have nothing also. Okay, we're not done. We're almost done. We're now going to take our x equals 0, and we're going to plug it into one of these equations. So let's use negative 2. Instead of the x, let's use 0 plus 8. And so anything times 0 is nothing, plus 8, and that's your answer. So my answer is x equals 0, y equals 8. Okay, do you have any questions or concerns about systems of equations by substitution 1? Please let me know how I can help you and give you clarification. Okay, have an awesome day, guys. Thanks.